Classroom sessions. Roll 1, scene 1, take 2.
Welcome, everyone, to Classroom Sessions. On the show today, we have Chelsie Hightower. You may recognize her from the ABC national television show Dancing with the Stars, where she was a professional dancer, trainer, and choreographer for 5 different years. She's performed in concert halls across the country and won her first national title while she was only 11 years old. She was a U.S. Worlds finalist in 2005 and competed on Team USA during the British Open in Blackpool, England. At the age of 18, she made her first national television appearance on So You Think You Can Dance. She was nominated for multiple Emmy nominations. She has been in a Lifetime movie. She did a 50-plus city tour with others from Dancing with the Stars.
Ty Murray and his partner Chelsie Hightower. Michael Bolton and his partner Chelsie Hightower.
Tour is awesome, and my dance partner Chelsie is.
Would you personalize this to Duggan?
And just so happens to be my aunt. Nice to have you today, Chelsie.
Nice to be here.
So, when and how did your interest in dancing start?
So I was 9 years old at my elementary school, and my elementary school had a ballroom dance program specifically. And I remember watching their year-end performance and thinking it was just the coolest thing. And I wanted to try it out. So I told my mom, I want to go do this dancing thing. I want to try this dancing program at my school. And at first I was fumbling with my steps. I was really slow to catch on. I felt like I was so far behind everyone else. And then about a month later, some boy pulled me aside and he just started moving me around. And I wasn't thinking. It was the first time I just wasn't thinking about the steps, and I was just following along. And then it clicked, and and then I got out of my head and realized that I could do more than I thought I could. So then I started competing at 9 years old, and it was a good time.
So when did you get serious about dancing and actually started considering it as a career?
I got serious when my dream for a long time was my dream for a long time was to go to BYU and be on their ballroom program. And my mom would always say, you can get a scholarship if you're good enough or whatever. And so that was my dream. And then I started getting really serious about dance when I was 12. And that's when I was dancing at a studio, doing jazz, ballet, hip hop, training in all the styles. And that's when I really started getting more intense with it. And then when I was 14, I started competing around the country and then around the world. And that's when I really started taking the idea of becoming a professional
You actually
a lot more
started
seriously.
Thinking about it and how could this,
And do I want to be a professional? What does that look like? And what area do I want to go into? And do I see myself in the ballroom professional scene so much, or is it I couldn't decide for a long time. And that was a big question for me when I was 15 of which direction am I going to go in? Do I want to do this forever, or do I, I don't know.
Do you consider other things?
Yeah.
So when you first went on to So You Think You Can Dance, what was your initial thought when you joined?
So when I first saw the show, I'll say that was the first time that I was like, okay, that's something I know I want to do. If I do dance professionally, I want to do that, because that incorporates all the styles of dance, which I really loved, and ballroom. So I was 16, I think, when that show first appeared, and it was that moment that I was like, okay, that's what I know I want to do. So I started prepping for that pretty much at that point, where I would start and visualizing myself on that stage. What would I need to do to prepare? So I feel like in many ways it was everything I thought it would be, because I'd visualized myself being there so many times. But I was really nervous too, because obviously reality is not always, is a little different than, what's going on in your mind.
kind of crazy.
It's just real, right? So like now you're there, now you're in this space, and I was nervous, but I was incredibly excited. And we had a Mia Michaels routine. Many of you do not know who Mia Michaels is, but she was known to be very intense and very, very tough on people she worked with. So it was imperative that we didn't mess up. But I just welcomed the challenge. I was really excited about just the opportunity to be there and to do it. So I was really excited.
And was it the same when you were on Dancing with the Stars? Or?
Not the same. Very different. I never watched the show, so I really didn't understand what the show was about. I really wasn't interested in watching celebrities when I was 17. Like, I was really, really focused on being an excellent dancer, so it was hard. That sounds really cocky. I didn't mean it like that, but I wasn't super inspired by the show, so it wasn't something I was interested in. So when I had the opportunity to be on the show, I went into it with a very like perfectionist mindset almost, which is how I was with my dancing previously, which there's a strong balance between being overly perfectionistic and wanting excellence, and I was very much wanting excellence. And so when I got onto Dancing with the Stars, it was a big learning curve of learning what mattered and what didn't matter as much on that show. So it's very different show, very different platforms, and So
when you were older and Dancing with the Stars, from what I remember, it was pretty fast paced, and like it was like you had a week. So what was that schedule like?
Yeah, it depended on which celebrity. Some celebrities wanted to rehearse for like 8 hours a day, and some would be like, let's do 6 hours, but then we only really danced for about 2. So it just depended on what they wanted, what their work ethic was. But the more they put into it, definitely the better they got.
Did you rent out places? Were you in a set space that was near the studio, or?
So they had my first 2 seasons. They would have us in dance studios across LA, and we would just travel to different dance studios each week. And then I think it was my 3rd or 4th season, they built a studio for us, so then everyone was in the same space. So we were all seeing each other in the halls, asking each other for help. We'd pull each other into our studios and be like, I don't know what to do with this. Or can you help my celebrity? They're not getting this. I'd pull a boy in many times to show them the masculine role. So that was really nice because we helped each other out a lot, and there was great camaraderie in the studio.
Nice.
So yeah.
What was the housing like?
We all lived in our own houses.
Cool.
Yeah, most of us lived in LA. If you didn't live in LA, they would give you an apartment to use for the 3 months that the show was airing.
Have you ever had any struggles or thought professional dancing was really difficult or too difficult even?
The professional dance world is tough, and there are, yes, performance anxiety was a part of my experience on Dancing with the Stars, and something I really dealt with. There's a lot of pressure and expectations, but there's also a lot of politics that is involved in the professional dance scene and entertainment industry in general. So, and there's a lot of things that you can't control. So there were many lessons I learned at a very young age, and had to learn how to navigate very quickly. And you really are on your own in many ways. So there was a lot of pressure and and there were some challenges.
Have you ever felt like lost while you're dancing or while you're in the middle of a, recording or out on stage?
Like blacked out in the middle of a dance? My very first partner, actually, Ty Murray, his very first dance, he said as soon as the music started, his ears started ringing and he couldn't hear a thing. He was completely lost. luckily we practiced enough times what to do if you did feel lost. So he did look to me and I back led him, which means you lead, but as a lady you lead back led, as the man is supposed to lead typically. So I took his hands and I sort of back led him through the whole thing. I had not experienced, there are definitely moments where I'd experienced where I felt not present with what I was doing, but never personally to the point where I felt like I had blacked out. But that happens in performance, and that is, it's a lot of pressure as a performer because you're feeling very vulnerable, and that happens for sure.
Have you ever felt like heavy responsibility for training, other celebrities on Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're the professional, you're the choreographer, you're the therapist, you're the partner, you're the teacher, you're all the things to the celebrity. So there is a responsibility on your shoulders for their success, which is a heavy responsibility. And that's part of the challenge of that show, and I guess how much you take it seriously as a professional and how much pride you put into your work. And I definitely did want to do the best job I could do, so I did feel that pressure for sure.
All right, so now we're gonna turn the time over to some students on our school ballroom team, and they're gonna ask you a few questions. Is that all right?
That works.
All right.
That's good.
Hi. So I was wondering, what is your favorite dancing style, and why is that your favorite?
Well, my favorite dancing style is probably contemporary, which is not what I'm known for, and it's not what I get to do very often. But I love it so much because it's the most expressive, the most organic, the most authentic style, and it is like, just feels so good. And then in the ballroom genre, rumba is my favorite dance for similar reasons. It's very slow, and it's just got that connection with you and your partner the most. And I thrive off of connection and expression, so I would say those two. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Anybody else have some questions?
I was wondering, as you practice songs and like specific dances over and over and over again, do they ever like lose their magic that
Yeah.
they have when you like first hear them?
Of course.
And if they do, what advice do you give to like hold on to that?
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because like when you first learn something, it's so fresh, and so the passion is there. When we were on tours, like Bleeding Love, for instance, was a popular dance that I did on So You Think You Can Dance. The first time we did that, it was like the most expressive, the most emotional, the first time we performed it, because it was still so fresh. So as a performer, it is somewhat your responsibility to keep it fresh, and that's hard to do. So what we would try to do, or what I would try to do, is just imagine that I hadn't performed it before and just try to bring that spark back every time as if I was doing it for the first time. But it's a skill, and it does take practice, but finding that spark and acting like you've never done it before and pretending that's your first time doing it. That's the first time everyone else is going to see it, so they're experiencing it for the first time, and remembering that too helps as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
Okay, so what is like one of your de-stressors when you're like about to go on stage or like afterward?
Yeah, great question. I didn't have too many tools when I was younger, and that's partly why I have now certified in a few different tools. EFT tapping is one of those. And that is really helpful because it helps you accept whatever you're feeling. Sometimes as a performer, it's really hard to, sometimes you can get anxiety about anxiety, or fear about fear, or doubt about your doubt, because you're like, crap, I can't be in this space because I have to be, performing, I have to be up, and I have to be, bright-eyed and ready. And so when you feel anxiety, it kind of does the opposite, right? And so I love EFT tapping because it helps you to accept whatever it is that you're feeling. I also think fear is a big part of performance, right? So like when you're like, okay, I have this fear of judgment, or I have this fear of what other people are going to think, or this fear of, which are so human to feel, and every performer goes through it. And that's really important to understand too, is that every performer is going to go through their own challenge, and you're not the only one. And I think that was really helpful for me, because sometimes I would feel like feeling performance anxiety and feeling like I'm the only one feeling this, or I'm the only one experiencing this. But truthfully, we're all human, right? So we're all going to experience some challenge in some way. So knowing that, I think, has been really helpful for me. And then being able to articulate, what are my fears? What are my specific fears? Is it this fear of judgment, or is it a fear of what other people are going to think, or is it a fear of messing up, or a fear of what else? What else have you guys experienced?
So mine's like a fear of just being watched in general.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. I'm a ballroom dancer.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like the spotlight.
What do you like about dancing?
It's that it's like really expressive. Like when I'm with a partner, it makes it easier for me to dance, because I'm not the only one being watched when I'm being looked at.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I'd say is tap into that genuine expression, that genuine joy, that purity of why you love to dance, and always keeping that, like remembering that. But then it's tough, because as dancers, it's a very vulnerable position to put yourself in, right? Because you have all these people watching you, and they're judging your choices as a dancer, and they're judging how you look, and whether or not they actually are, you feel like often that's the case. So I think being, again, like I went through a slew of fears, and knowing that like that's part of the process is just learning how to recognize those fears and work with that, and trying to overcome those fears every performance. Like it's a step-by-step process, so it doesn't happen at once. So first thing, I'll validate that feeling. It's a vulnerable thing to put yourself out there. I felt very exposed and very vulnerable when I was auditioning for So You Think for the first time. So much so that I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I might just have to walk away. And at one point I was like, stop thinking and just dance. You know how to dance. Just stop thinking and it's going to be okay. But you'll go through that with every phase. Like every step you take that's elevating, you're going to come across resistance and challenge. And so that's normal. And then address those fears. Like I love EFT tapping, because you can get very specific and you can process through that fear. So you just like tap on the back of your hand and say, even though I'm feeling this fear of judgment or this fear of being seen, I love and accept myself even though I'm feeling this fear of judgment. You say that 3 times. Then tap. You can find this online too. You just tap through all of your different meridian points in your body and just repeat that. This fear of judgment, this fear of being seen, this fear of being watched. Every fear that's related to that, and you just go through that. And that is, for me, that's been really, really helpful. And then the other thing you can say is, what's the worst thing that could happen? I fall on my face, I feel silly, I feel embarrassed, I feel shame, but I'm gonna survive, and I'm gonna be okay. Yeah. And this is the only way through. The only way to the other side is through. So avoiding performance isn't going to help, but just going into the fear and just knowing that like this is the only way to get over this is to continue forward and to continue into the fear. And you'll get better at it every time you do it.
Yeah, I've been dancing since the 4th grade, I think.
Yeah.
Around. Yeah.
Do you
really
and you
fun.
feel like when you level up, it gets more intense, or?
It's like a scale. It's tipping back and forth. It's like, because my old school didn't have as many people as this one.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot more stressful because there's even more people watching me.
Sure. And the other thing to understand too is that every different circumstance is going to come with different challenges. So you may feel really confident and great in one arena, and then you get into another arena and go, oh shoot, I don't feel the confidence I used to feel. And there's lots of circumstances that are contributing to that, right? And there's lots of different elements. And so that's part of being self-aware as a performer is recognizing like what is triggering me right now.
Yeah.
Why do I feel this way? And being investigative about that. Why am I feeling this way? Is it the dance? Is it a move that I don't feel comfortable with? Is it someone specific around me? Is it more people? It's just kind of investigating. I would almost have to do that every week on the show because we were dealing with so many different circumstances every time and so many different elements. And then once you can kind of get a picture of what that is, you can trust yourself to like find solutions for that. We all have answers within us, and so tap into your inner wisdom in your body and listen to your body and listen to your needs. Sorry, that was really long, but these are the real challenges of a performer. And some performers are not as sensitive to it. I'm not one of those. I'm very sensitive to my surroundings. I'm very sensitive to, I pick up emotions. I'm very just sensitive to all of that stuff. So me being very investigative and very self-aware was a lifeline for me. I had to if I wanted to continue. So yeah, and check out EFT. I love that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can tell
Good
when a
luck.
question is really good when you can really deep dive into it.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
All right.
I just want to ask, what would you say the first step is if you want to continue ballroom or just any type of dance after high school and to actually make that a part of your life?
Yeah, such a good question. The first step is, do you know where you want to go with it specifically?
I mean, I'm hoping to maybe join the ballroom dance team at BYU, kind of like what you said.
Yeah, so I would go and research what they do. I'd watch videos. I'd go and see like what would it take for me to make it on that team, and what are they looking for? And dance is so subjective, and that's one of the difficult parts about it, is that you could be not selected for something for things that are completely out of your control, and there's nothing to do with you or your talent or your skill. It's just like you just weren't what they were looking for, and that's the same in all of the arts. That's just how the arts go. But it is still worth the effort to go in that direction, because even if you don't make it, even if you don't get there, you're still going to learn so much. And it might lead you to somewhere that's a better suit for you, or somewhere even better. So the first thing I would say is, yeah, go see what it is that they require. And then if you want to do it out of high school, I would say you would want to train probably solo with a coach. There's so many good options in Utah at this point. Like Peak Performance is a great place. Strictly Ballroom are two really great studios that have top people that are teaching here in Utah County. So then you just take it seriously, and even more seriously, and set your goal in that direction and make that a vision that you can see yourself accomplishing. And then I have always kind of saw that and then worked backwards from there. Like, what do I need to do to accomplish that thing? And then go for it. Like, you have nothing to lose, that's the biggest thing. Like, just go for your dream, because you have one life and you would have nothing to lose except for your pride, but you will get it back. But you'll always learn something in the process, and you'll always become a better person for trying. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a really weird question, but how did you find the strength to pursue and work as hard as you could to get to where you are now?
That's a complex question for me. First, the passion that I had for dance. That was huge. I truly loved dance, and I think I really looked up to people who were pursuing dance and being excellent at it, and I had a big passion for that. So I think your own personal drive is gonna, and your own personal will is gonna be the biggest thing that drives you forward. How much do you want it? And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong if you don't want to be a professional. It just means that may not be your value, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I would say align yourself to what you desire the most. What is that you really truly desire? Whether that's a professional or a teacher or you can go in so many different ways. But if you desire it enough, you're going to figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, last one.
My question is, when you're having like mental blocks and you feel like you're not good enough, how do you like overcome that and get back into that positive mindset?
Yeah.
That you can do it.
It's so personal. It's unique for everyone. What's not unique for everyone is that everyone questions whether they're good enough or not. That's universal. Every dancer, every time I ask a huge dance room full of dancers, have you ever experienced feeling not good enough? Every single dancer will raise their hand. So every dancer experiences that. And it's really, really personal to how you overcome that. So it'd be a hard question to fully answer unless I knew exactly what you were feeling. But for me, overcoming that feeling of not being good enough, it's interesting because I thought if I just accomplish enough, I'll never feel that again. And then I accomplished way more than I thought I would, and I still felt that. And so I think a huge factor for dancers is that we associate our worth so heavily with who we are as dancers and our success level. So I think it's really, really important to understand that your worth has nothing to do with your skill, your results, your accomplishments. Where you are in the room, whether you're in the front or the back, whether or not you get special treatment, like none of that has anything to do with your value as a human and your worth. And that's something I had to learn after I got to that point where I was like, oh, doesn't matter how many accomplishments you have, like if you still feel that way about yourself, that's still gonna be there. The other thing is that there is no perfection. There's no there point. So you're always good enough right where you are, because there's never gonna be a point where someone has it all and they know everything, and everyone's gonna be going through the process still. And then beyond that, I would, it's very personal. Each one of us kind of get stuck in our own personal doubts and fears. But yeah, that's what I would say. Like, there's no such thing as perfection. You're never gonna get there. So you're good enough right where you are today. And try to embrace that, like it's all a process forever and ever. So you're good enough right where you are. And sometimes there's dance traumas that can lead to that feeling too, of like, I wasn't picked and that made me feel a certain way, or I got this horrible result and that made me feel a certain way. And sometimes you have to process through some of that as well. So it's a combination of things. Does that help at all?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Chelsie, for being here.
You're welcome.
This has been great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Let's go.